Today we want to talk about the unbelievable story of how they killed the dominant Zakspeed Viper at the 24 hours of the Nurburgring. The 24-hour race had a problem. It lost a bit of its popularity during the 1990s. The regulators tried to attract manufacturers with a very open rulebook, allowing basically everything with four wheels, as they put it. Since 1999, powerful GT cars were allowed at the Nordschleife again, and the manufacturers came. Porsche participated with a number of customer teams. Opel and Audi came with their new Class 1 DTM cars. These looked like road cars, but effectively were prototypes with a carbon fiber monocoque. BMW came with their E46 M3 GT-R named Gabi, and the German former F1 and DTM team Zakspeed came to the Nürburgring with their Viper GTS-R. And this car was the big problem of all manufacturers. The Viper was originally designed to be a good basis for motorsport projects, with its 8-liter V10 engine, lots of torque, good weight distribution, tube frame, glass fiber bodywork and double wishbone suspension all around. If you want to know more about the first generation Viper, check out my video about my Viper RT10 below. The GTS-R was the race version, which was additionally fine-tuned by the experienced Zakspeed team. They had the financial support of Daimler Chrysler and Fujifilm. The car had KW suspension and Dunlop tires. With this package they had a reliable, quick car which was popular among its drivers because of its good drivability. In 1999 the Zakspeed Viper dominated the 24 hours at the Nürburgring and won. For the following year the regulators put 500 kg ballast into the Viper to slow it down. Zakspeed built the car with now 1,650 kg and around 1,000 horsepower, and could still reach second place in the year 2000. And remember, there wasn't a BOP like today yet, and all competitor cars were very different, since they came from different categories. In 2001 and 2002, the Zakspeed Viper dominated the race on the Nordschleife again, and it became a big problem for the organizers. They wanted to attract more manufacturers, but no one could beat this Viper of this private team. Additionally, the competition had brand new race cars with the latest technology, but this Viper was basically 10 years old and wasn't even produced anymore. The team was told that there wouldn't be any regulatory changes for 2003. But now, competitor teams complained about the Viper and said, if the Viper is still allowed to use a 120-liter fuel tank, we won't compete. Zakspeed said, we don't even start the race if we are only allowed to have an 80-liter fuel tank. BMW said, we don't want to kill your popular project so we can win. That leaves a bad taste. But other manufacturers were not as understanding, and in the end the regulators set the maximum fuel capacity for the Viper at 90 liters. Zakspeed calculated that chances of winning were extremely small now. But the experienced Zakspeed team had an idea. They created the Viper with a large rear opening, and they tested a system where they could swap the whole 90-liter fuel tank during a pit stop, something they knew from the V8 Star category. Refueling a 120-liter fuel tank took around 2 minutes. Swapping the whole 90-liter fuel tank only took 25 seconds, thanks to a quick-release system. So this could increase their chances to win the race again. They kept quiet about the system and tested it at parts of the track with no cameras. But the idea somehow leaked to the regulators, and they changed the rules 6 weeks before the race. Now teams were only allowed to refuel at normal fuel pumps. The rule change came too late and was effectively illegal, but the regulators argued it's for safety reasons, and you could change the rules anytime to improve safety. So now the Viper couldn't just swap the fuel tank anymore. But Zakspeed had another idea. The regulators said cars with more than 2.5-liter engine size can have a 120-liter fuel tank. And underneath they said, special rule for the Chrysler Viper, 1,350 kg, 90-liter fuel tank, 2 times 30.8 mm restrictors. The reason why the Dodge Viper was sold as Chrysler Viper in Europe was that there was no Dodge dealership network in Europe. But the car was effectively a Dodge Viper, and also mother company Daimler Chrysler wanted to promote the brand Dodge in Europe now. So Zakspeed changed the documents of the Viper from Chrysler Viper to Dodge Viper. The regulators knew about this, but didn't quite realize which consequences this would have. The rules only said the Chrysler Viper had to use a 90-liter fuel tank, but it didn't say anything about the Dodge Viper, so they could legally use a 120-liter fuel tank now. Zakspeed prepared, even used a lawyer to confirm their car complies with the rules, and they put some money aside for unavoidable protests of the competition. Saturday morning, a few hours before the race started, Zakspeed informed the regulators that they would refuel 120 liters. They informed them beforehand to avoid a scandal during the race. The regulators begged Zakspeed to not do this wouldn't be fair, but Zakspeed said, "You gave us 500 kilogram ballast, a 90-liter fuel tank, and you banned our fuel tank swapping system, and now you want fairness? No way." The race started and the competitors gathered in front of the Zakspeed box to wait for their first pit stop. Everyone could reach how much they were refueling because they had to use a standard fuel pump. After 70 minutes, the Viper came in and refueled 117.5 liters. Boom, now the fight began. They offered Zakspeed a simple stop-and-go penalty if they would only refuel 90 liters from now on, but Zakspeed didn't accept any penalty because they did nothing wrong. For the next hours, the Viper refueled 120 liters. The regulators couldn't do anything because Zakspeed's case was bulletproof. What happened next is unbelievable. The regulators asked for the car's documentation. Zakspeed had to hand it out because the German Motorsport Association, DMSB, is the owner of these documents. The regulators now scratched Dodge Viper and changed it to manufacturer Chrysler, type Dodge Viper. With this change, the car was illegal because it didn't comply with the rule to use 90-liter fuel tank. Now they could fine Team Zakspeed. First, they wanted to give him a 60-minute stop-and-go penalty, but instead, at 1:45 a.m. in the night, they handed a 5-lap penalty to the Viper. 5 laps at that time took around 50 minutes. But that wasn't enough, and the Viper was still too competitive on track. So they handed another 5-lap penalty 2.5 hours before the end of the race. So a total of 10 Nordschleife laps penalty. The Opel DTM car won the race with 143 completed laps. The Viper completed 144 laps, but because of the massive penalty, the Viper was only classified with 134 laps. But that wasn't the end of it. Zakspeed and the German Motorsport Association met in front of the court in Frankfurt a couple of weeks later. Zakspeed explained they did nothing wrong and they don't accept the 10 laps penalty. The regulators were now disqualifying the Viper to shut them up. But this continued. Zakspeed's lawyer now explained that because the 24-hour race is an international race and not a national one, they will bring this case to the International FIA Court in Paris. Also, Zakspeed had the drivers Robert Lechner from Austria and Pedro Lamy from Portugal in the car, so it was an international case. The German regulators didn't expect that. Now the whole case became a lot bigger. It wasn't just about the disqualification of the Viper, chances were pretty high that the FIA court would have annulled the whole race after everything that has happened there. So now the future of the 24-hour race at the Nurburgring and the image of the German motorsport lied in the hands of Peter Zakowski, team boss of Zakspeed. Regulators now had an honest and long discussion with Zakowski because the stakes were pretty high, for both sides. Zakowski didn't want to hurt the 24-hour race or the Nurburgring. He just wanted to be treated fairly. And the organizers wanted to keep the good image of the race and didn't want any trouble with the FIA. And so Zakowski didn't bring the case to Paris, but he earned respect in the paddock, and they found a compromise with the regulators. He deleted 2 cylinders at the Viper, which was now a 6.2-liter V8, and he was allowed to run this car like everybody else. The organizers changed the event to a national one, so court trouble like in 2003 wasn't possible anymore. Today it's an international event again. The Viper, however, was competing in the 24-hour race at the Nürburgring until 2008, but wasn't able to win the race anymore. But anyway, the car which completed the most laps in 2003 was the Dodge Viper. And you can buy this very car with the original V10 engine and swappable 90-liter fuel tank today. For more information, check out the link below, and if you enjoyed this video, please consider to become a B-Sport Club member for more videos like this.